Awesome. Okay, so then the next step of that, and I think I'll get you off of the thinking here, but it's just, I think this stuff is so important, is inversion thinking. So that is to think about and plan for the exact opposite of what you want to happen. I was originally conceived by a mathematician named Carl Jacobi, and it was Man muss immer umkehren, which is you must always turn back. Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett are huge fans of this, so if you're looking for someone who has some credibility in applying this, he said, it's remarkable how much long-term advantage people like us have gotten by trying to be consistently not stupid instead of trying to be very intelligent, right? And what I really like is he says, invert, always invert, turn a situation problem upside down. What happens if all our plans go wrong? Where don't we want to go, and how do we get there? How do we get to where we don't want to go? By thinking about how do you get to where you don't want to go, you'll identify the problems that will get you where you don't want to go. And I love the last part. He says, tell me where I'm going to die so I don't go there, right?
That's a great book, by the way, that Charlie Munger, Tell Me Where I Want to Die, Don't Go There book.
Yes.
By Warren Buffett. That's a killer book.
Yes, absolutely. So the 3 steps, what do you want to happen? And I'm going to tell this in the story of one of our businesses. So I have a direct mail business. We send about 1 million pieces of mail a month. Yes, direct mail works. I've done it now for 26 years, that company. And so what we want to happen is to get more customers from our business. What we don't want to happen is, what could we do to prevent the business from getting customers? Well, my brilliant crack team decided, and I step away, I think I tell everybody I'm not on the org chart for any business. So I have management that I trust to do things. It did not occur to me that they would make this decision, but they looked at our business, and what do you believe that they identified as the number 1 and number 2 costs in our direct mail business? Postage and printing. So you know how we're going to save money? We're not going to mail, because then we'll save those costs. This sounds absolutely idiotic, and yet it happened with actual intelligent people. One of them was the head of private banking for U.S. Bank. And she and I became friends through their private bank, and then she ultimately bought into the business. I think it's always good to have your partners buy in. And this was a decision that she participated in making, which just astounds me. So what's the preventative solution? For us, it was create a mail calendar and then dual responsibility and reporting, which we didn't have. So it was really good that we did this. But it's amazing to me. I like this example because, A, it shows you how stupid I am and my team, and it also, so that if you experience anything like this, you can say, you know, hey, there's hope, right? Because we got through it. But it literally, the business was going, initially, because there was millions of pieces of mail on the street and people respond over time, costs went down, profits went up. Fantastic. How are we making so much more money? Oh, it's amazing. We found some ways to cut costs. Cool. Then profits start going down. Revenue starts going down. What happened? What were those ways that you figured out how to cut costs? Well, I mean, we hadn't sent mail for the past 4 months. So I think that's an extreme example, but in your businesses too, making a list, because these things can happen. I like it also because it illustrates even the highly improbable can happen. So what are these things that you want to not happen, and what can you do to prevent them?
Is digital marketers to mail?
Digital marketers what?
Inversion to mail?
Yeah, yes, exactly. No, we do actually do direct mail, but and only on higher profit segments. It doesn't work to cold, but yes. So the other reason to do this stuff is how many of you watch Game of Thrones? Anyone who doesn't, I mean, I don't even know what to say to you. But you're missing out on a great story. So one of the guys in there who's a very cheery fellow named Jon Snow always says winter is coming, and it comes from the least likely places. This is a guy that I met not long ago at an event with Jerry, and his name is Cory Bergeron, and he was the #1 all-time best-selling host for Home Shopping Network. And this lady is Yifat Cohen, who was Google's ambassador for Google+. She was the Google+ go-to gal. She was flown by Google all over the world, gave workshops and seminars, and they both built their businesses on the assumption that those things would go on. And who would have thought that one day this guy gets told by Home Shopping, we don't need you anymore. In the middle of the highest performing campaign that Home Shopping had ever had. He was ousted because a group of people who were friendly to ownership got together and said, why don't we take that stuff that he's doing, because we could do as well. They didn't and they couldn't, but nonetheless, someone else got to make the decision, and he was out of a job, like just done, and all of his money evaporated. And I guess you guys all know that Google decided to stop Google Plus, and she's just like, she's built her whole thing. Now she does a speech called "Don't Build Your House on Rented Property," right? But it's important to me that you think about, no matter where you are or how stable you think a solution is, and I particularly direct this to anybody that's selling on other platforms like Amazon, Facebook, etc. You've got to build your own property. You've got to build your own media, because if you're relying on AdWords or anything else, it literally could go away. I had a friend of mine who was selling motorcycle products, and we were actually negotiating here at this hotel at Amaya to buy his company. He had 150,000 different SKUs of motorcycle products, and he was selling like crazy on Amazon. And we had reached a preliminary agreement here to buy his company at dinner. And while we were at dinner, he got a call from Amazon, who he didn't tell us that he had been talking with. He had said, I'm concerned about Amazon because Amazon has said that they're going into different product categories, and if they go into mine and they start producing it themselves, then I'm screwed, because about $35 million a year of my income is coming from Amazon. And that's why, so he was like, can you help us? And so we were working on getting them into other places through physical distribution. But during that meeting, Amazon called and said, here's our offer for your company, and you can either sell it to us and be our supplier, or we're going to use another supplier that we've identified. And they said, this is the supplier, and so we're not fooling. And so he had that choice. And so our deal fell apart because he basically became an Amazon subsidiary, and that was out of fear, because Amazon was all of his business, right, or most of it. So you never know what's going to happen. So always be thinking about that, right? So I think this is self-explanatory. It's pronounced exactly like you would think it would be, and this is just one last bit on this first principles thinking and stuff. So this is Eyjafjallajökull is how you say that. It took me a week in Iceland to learn how to pronounce it, and I'm so proud of myself for learning how to pronounce it, because that was the goal of my guide when I got there. But Eyjafjallajökull is the volcano that erupted about 10 years ago last month in Iceland, that covered the sky with ash and shut down all of the air travel. And I was with my wife at the end of a trip in Italy, and basically we had kind of done everything that we wanted to do. We couldn't fly anywhere. We, unlike the people who were all stuck in the airports eating the leftover Starbucks bagels, we said, hey, let's just go to a hotel. When we actually, I called to check into the flight, and they said all the flights are canceled. And I said, well, we're going to stay at the hotel. That's what I said. So we're there, and there's not a whole lot else to do. So I asked her, I said, I'd like to just see if I can make some money doing something. I've been studying these product launch things. It seems like something that you could maybe make some money at. I'd like to do one of those. And she said, okay. The only problem was that I didn't have any product to sell, and I have always hated building lists, so I like to buy into companies that have lists, and I didn't want to spend a whole lot of money on it because I didn't know if I was going to be any good at it or not. So my assumptions would have been that I have to have a product or I can't do this, I have to have a list or I can't do this, and it's going to take a lot of money. And so I ended up I wrote a business plan. It ended up being 14 pages long, but it didn't take that long to do. And I said, this is every way that I could possibly do this and make it happen. And I spent $1,250, and then over the next 6 days, I made $1,265,000 selling a product from a guy named Mike Koenig's called Main Street Marketing Machines. And my point in telling you this is that is a 1,012x return on that investment. But it's amazing what you can accomplish if you just have the time to do it. And so all of this is just towards please take the time and take these first principles reasoning and especially inversion thinking and apply this to your business, because winter is coming to us all. There's always an Eyjafjallajökull that's around the corner. There's always something that's happening. You all know as an entrepreneur that it's, oh yeah, and then oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh yeah, right? That's how our lives work, because it's hard, and that's why we enjoy what we do. So with that, let's take a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about business model innovation.